Hello everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics in the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail, broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published once every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. I'm 30 years old. My wife is 35 years old. In general, we fell in love with each other just like everyone else. We lived together for 2 years and got married. We have been married for 5 years, and we have a son who is 3 years old. In total, our relationship is 7 years old. For the entire time of our relationship, we bought a country house and a car. We don't have our own apartment, so we live with my mother-in-law. Before that, we lived with my parents for 6 months. I have a small business on the topic of acting courses, public speaking. In general, all property and deposits are documented on me. Now let's move closer to the story. In September 2017, my mother was diagnosed with a very terrible disease, brain cancer. We tried to help in every way. It was not possible to save my mother. In April, I buried my mother. I was depressed, and maybe that's why I didn't notice any signs of my wife's infidelity. After a while, my wife began to say that I was getting old and life was passing us by. I thought it was a midlife crisis. Time will pass and my wife will calm down. Then my wife began to say that she was not created for family life and so on. She wants to go to parties and nightclubs. There was a password on my wife's mobile phone. She always left social networks and so on. The situation turned out to be very banal. A student of the 12th grade of high school studied at our acting courses. He was a rocker musician with long hair. My wife asked off me to go to a party. The party was hosted by future actors who went to my courses. My wife said she would go to a party and make new friends. We practiced this to attract new customers. In general, it all started there. Later, my wife wanted to go to his concert. I didn't see anything wrong with that and let her go, but I couldn't even imagine what my wife was doing there. At the same time, our intimate life has improved. We used to have sex once a week or twice. After a while, they send me on a business trip. After a business trip, I'm flying home. My wife and I have a romantic dinner. Sex in general, everything is fine. But after a while, I feel that my wife has cooled down to me. I do not know how to describe this feeling correctly. She's kind of with me, but at the same time, not with me. Suspicions immediately appeared in my head. I install a program on my wife's mobile phone to intercept Sims. Everything is fine. I don't notice anything bad. I begin to calm down and think that I may have imagined it. Then I come across my wife's correspondence with her best friend. My wife tells her that she is having an affair with a young guy who is much younger than her. That after having sex with this guy, my wife don't feel anything when she snuggled up to me. I'm shocked, and my first thoughts are this can't be. I immediately come at my wife for a serious conversation. I ask my wife if she wants to tell me something. In response, I get a calm answer, "No." I couldn't stand it, and I tell her right to her face that I know everything about the affair with this young guy. She swears that she had nothing with him. In general, we have a small scandal. My wife denies everything. She swears by the health of our child that there is nothing between them. At the same time, I hide from my wife how I found out this information. The next day, I continue the moral pressure on my wife. She also denies everything. After that, my wife throws a tantrum and declares that she needs to go to a neighboring city and spend time alone. As she said, she needs to think about everything alone. I log into a program that tracks correspondence, and what do I see? That's right, my wife is going there with this young guy. I tell my wife right to her face that I know she's going to go there with him. Hysteria begins, tears, snot, and so on. Then she takes my mobile phone and sees her correspondence with this guy. I can't stand it and admit that I know about the correspondence with her best friend. My wife is crying, but not confessing. In general, she is getting ready and leaving for work. At this time, my father arrives and learns about our situation in the family. I ask my father for advice. He tells me to take your time and figure it out. In a rage, I call my wife and tell her I'm leaving. She knows my position. If I leave, then once and for all. My wife comes home and on her knees asks me for forgiveness. In general, she confessed everything to me. Let me remind you that before that, she swore to the health of our son that she did not have sex with this guy. I couldn't believe it myself. My wife is 35 years old. He is 17, almost 18 years old. What can they have in common? Then everything was a blur. My wife says that she needs to end the relationship in a human way. In a rage, I shout, "Go," and the relationship with him. I put the recorder in her purse. After listening to the recording, I heard them having sex. Most likely it was a farewell sex. It was very bad for me. I do not know how my heart could stand it. She never saw him again, but according to her, she really wanted to. Of course, maybe I don't know a lot of things. Throughout June, they periodically called each other and wrote, "I played detective like a fool and tried to catch my wife on the hot." At the beginning of July, this young guy leaves for another city to study at the university. My wife calls him and wishes him a happy birthday. He also writes to my wife on social networks and congratulates her. At that time, we were relaxing in the forest and trying to glue our relationship. After a while, I'm going on a business trip for a week. My wife writes to this guy periodically, but there is nothing criminal in the correspondence. Of course, she writes to him that she misses him a lot. What do we have today? I realized that there was nothing to return. I feel indifference towards my wife. If there were feelings in our relationship before, now it's just emptiness. We talk about business and the baby. I have no desire to return home. Only with the son there is a desire to see and not be alone. My wife probably understands herself that it won't be like before. She became cold to me. I even hate hugging her. In sex, she stopped exciting me. Most likely, this is a psychological problem. In general, we are no longer living together for love. She started working more and developing my business. I got some free time and started doing research. In 30 years of my life, I've only had 2 girls. The first girl cheated. There was an attempt at a comeback, but it was my mistake. I've been to hell. After a while, we broke up. When I was raised by my parents and they told me that family is the most important thing. Therefore, I always do everything for the sake of my family and am ready to deny myself a lot. But the main thing is that my family lives in comfort. My wife was raised by a single mother. According to her, we're no decent men. In my head, I understand that this is the end, but there is no moral strength left to endure it. In general, when I found out everything, I thought I was going to die, especially at the moment when I sent wife to say goodbye to this guy. I didn't believe that my wife could do this to me. I thought she would just tell him that we can't be together and that's it. In this situation, I see only 2 options. Option 1 is to get divorced. Option 2 is to continue living on for the sake of convenience in the child. But I understand that it won't be for long. I choose option number 1. I am very worried about my child. I am very afraid to be alone. I do not know how we will divide the business. My wife was sitting at home helping me and watching the baby. If the child stays with her, how will she support him? But if I leave my business to her, most likely it will collapse. She won't be able to keep track of the business and the baby at the same time. By the way, I will soon get a candidate of technical sciences. I will start teaching in September. In the end, I decided and told my wife to start looking for a job. I've already filed the divorce papers. I turned to a good lawyer. I don't need a country house. Let him take it for himself. Assets from the business will be divided in half. I can't take everything from my wife. That's the kind of person I am. My parents raised me to be an honest person. All this time, we have been developing my business together. I believe that it is necessary to remain a person, even if this person turned out to be shit. In general, I live alone now. I started going to the gym and lose 10 kg. I spend time with my son every weekend. My wife was trying to get our relationship back, but after a while, she calmed down. I do not know what is happening in her personal life right now. What do you say about this story? If you liked it, give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new videos. Now let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. the opinion of the author of the channel. By tradition, I want to wish strength and patience to our hero. I think you made the right decision. Perhaps your wife wanted new sensations. You know what shocks me? That it's not the first time I've seen girls swear by the health of their children. God, how low is that? That's why she cheated on you with this young guy. Take my word for it, she will greatly regret her action. This is time tested. You can watch the stories on my channel and understand that you are not the only one. Seek help from a psychologist. You can ask for support from friends or relatives. Most importantly, go ahead and don't look back. Devote more time to work or some hobby. This will help you not to think about what happened. Do not forget about your son. He is not to blame for anything. When your son grows up, he will understand everything himself. I think our community will give you a couple more tips on how to recover. Good luck to everyone! If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.